You want to unlock tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars in available personal and business credit in a very short span of time. Building a strong relationship with one institution can literally snowball and become symbiotic with relationships with other institutions at a fraction of the time. I'm going to actually explain to you how building a strong relationship with, let's say, Navy Federal can kick the door open to a strong relationship with American Express, but in a fraction of the time. You see, the beauty of getting your credit and your finances straightened out, having a strong income and great credit, is that banks openly start to compete for your business. They're not shy about it. One of the benefits of them pulling your credit and other data sources on you is they're able to see who you're doing business with and at what level. When they see this, they are able to weigh out the value of a customer that you would be on their books versus the competitor. When that happens, at that point in time and they see you as valuable, that is when they start to roll out the red carpet on opportunities with them. They'll start to give you pre-approvals. They'll start to give you special bonus offers. They're going to do whatever they think they can to entice you to bring that exact relationship and more over to them. The reason why Navy Federal can be a phenomenal foundational banking relationship is because, as most of us in this space are already aware of, Navy Federal has one of the lowest barriers of entries of quality financial institutions. You can get in with Navy Federal in a very short span of time, especially with their various banking products. You can get in with their credit cards at very high limits very early. This is not nearly as easy to do with other financial institutions, especially private commercial institutions like an American Express. You have to start dating them before you can get into a deeper relationship, if that makes any sense. With Navy Federal, the dating window is a lot shorter, if we're going to say that. So what that means is playing a relationship banking game with Navy Federal can reduce the amount of time that you need to play that game with American Express before you start to see really impressive limits on credit cards and other lending products. We all know Navy Federal has an internal score. And with that internal score, they're basically sourcing out how strong a relationship you're building with them and how healthy your overall financial picture is. The healthier both of them are, the more they're going to give you. The definition of healthy with Navy Federal is not as stringent as it would be with, let's say, again, American Express. So you don't need to make as much money or have as great a credit to kick the door down to 5-figure limits on your credit cards. We have tons of data points and testimonials of individuals going out and able to secure $15,000, $20,000, $25,000, and $30,000 limits on their first or second credit card with Navy Federal, or get subsequent limit increases in within 6 months to a year time and get to that level. Not as easy with American Express if you don't have really strong financials. So what you want to do is you want to start with a Navy Federal. Honestly, this works out fine for any credit union that you join. You just want to make sure that they report to all 3 credit bureaus and that they're a moderately sizable institution. But at the end of the day, I use Navy Federal as an example because they're so credible and so large in reference to credit unions. If you can get in with Navy Federal, and let's just say within 90 days to 180 days, so 3 to 6 months, you're able to implement the relationship banking strategy, meaning that you go in, establish multiple accounts, have rotating deposits, pay your bills out of there, use easier, lower ranking lending products to kind of demonstrate the relationship to Navy Federal and work your way up, then apply for one of their credit cards. You're likely going to kick the door down. If you have reasonable credit, if you have reasonable stable income, you're going to kick the door down likely with 5-figure limits, which is great. You want to be a little patient with this strategy. Even if you can go in and get approved for a credit card with Navy Federal really early, you want to give it 90 to 180 days because the more data points you build up, the more trust they develop in you. And the more trust, the higher the limits. And getting the higher limits with Navy Federal at 90 days to 180 days, even if you don't have any other major banking relationship going. Again, if your credit is reasonable, and we're going to say somewhere 660, 680 and above, and you develop this relationship, get these high limits with Navy Federal, 1 or 2 cards, from that point on, you're likely going to be able to leap right into an American Express at pretty significant limits as well. The reason for that is, again, Navy Federal is a very credible institution. and they're able to see the type of relationship you have with Navy Federal. Hopefully at this point, you've maybe done a couple pledge loans, you gotten 1 or 2 of their quality credit cards, and you have some strong deposit products with them. A good bit of that American Express is going to be able to see from data sources they're going to pull from. What you want to do at that point in time, again, once you've established that with Navy Federal and you're cemented in, you're going to want to jump right into American Express. You're going to want to go in, ideally, and get one of their credit cards. If you want to consider one of their co-branded but in-house cards, like their HILTON cards or Delta cards, they tend to have what data sources implement, or indicate rather, as lighter underwriting for you to get your foot in the door with them. Because once you kick the door down with American Express, the beauty of American Express is once you're in their ecosystem, if you're behaving responsibly and showing to be a profitable client, they don't hard pull you for much else once you're in their ecosystem. So it doesn't really matter what cards you start with, you just want to get in the door with them. I think a credit card would be great. You could go the charge card route, but I think credit cards are a better starting point with American Express. Now, why would I be advocating for you to go from a Navy Federal to an American Express? Why do I advocate Navy Federal to be the ground floor relationship when many kind of peg Navy Federal as a one-stop shop for the long haul? I'll explain why to you. American Express is a different beast in compared to a Navy Federal, for instance. I've said in previous videos, I absolutely love Navy Federal, but they're really kind of like tweenies or teenagers in an adults club when it comes to commercial banks. Meaning the size, like the overall size and lending capacity really doesn't compete very well once you get to a certain level with like an American Express or a Chase Bank. Navy Federal is only going to allow you to have about 3 of their credit cards at one time and total available credit across those credit cards of $80,000. Now, don't get me wrong, $80,000 is not seasoned money by any means. But when you're talking about getting to high personal credit limits, and honestly, really graduating, most of this is really around getting access to business credit and business funding at a high level so you can exercise all of this available capital in the businesses. It's not just to look pretty. Then, $80,000 starts to kind of hit its limit when it comes to business credit. On the personal side, $80,000 is phenomenal, and it's pretty much plenty for most of us. Even if we make 6 figures a year, it's hard to explain needing $80,000 in available credit at one time. But on the business side, $80,000 can be chump change really quick. Navy Federal is really about a mid-size or even a regional bank in comparison to most commercial private institutions. So you using Navy Federal to get to that $50,000, $60,000 exposure limit on credit cards and other small installment loans and pledge loan products, branching into an American Express is really the mecca. Because once you get into American Express, 5 figures is lightweight once you build that relationship up. Between their personal credit cards, their business credit cards, and either side's charge cards, getting in the 6 figures with American Express is not unheard of at all. And when I'm talking about spending power, borrowing capacity, including lines of credit and things of that nature, American Express is going to have much deeper pockets than Navy Federal in the long term. And that's why I constantly advocate credit unions are great, Navy Federal is great, SECU, PenFeds, all of those credit unions are great. The local credit union in your neighborhood is phenomenal, but they're not going to be able to compete with an American Express, a Chase Bank, Capital One, Citibank. They're not going to be able to compete when you start needing, what many would consider big boy lines of credit. When it gets, to put those bigger pants on and get to that $80,000, $100,000, $150,000 plus within one institution, Navy Federal is going to tap out, and that's okay. You just want to use them as a launching pad towards the American Expresses of the world, which again, I think has the highest growth potential in a sense of speaking, because of the fact that once you're in their ecosystem, you can get to tremendous limits, and you can do so across nearly over a dozen cards between charge and credit cards, business and personal. And you can usually do it with only the initial hard pulls that it takes to get into the American Express ecosystem. It is phenomenal. Once you have access to that, your investment capital, your business funding capital is almost unlimited. And this is why you want to bridge from a Navy Federal to American Express, because you're opening up a sea of funding strategically without reaching a cap anytime soon. I want you guys to comment down below and let me know what your relationship looks like with Navy Federal right now. Do you have examples of these companies competing for your business? Have you gotten a credit card with one institution and applied for the next one and watched how they match or sometimes exceed that limit? Have you paid attention to this trait? Have you used it, or do you plan on using it? And what institutions do you plan on using it with? To all my pioneers out there, welcome back. To all my new viewers, welcome in. You want to learn more about the channel, how to support the channel for free and effectively for yourself as well? Links in the description below. Other than that, I want y'all to stay focused, stay in motion. I'll see y'all soon.
This is JP from Blueprint for Prosperity Network, a channel dedicated to helping you increase your net worth through relationship banking, maximizing your borrowing capacity, the proper use of life insurance, and the ownership of real estate. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm uploading content on a daily basis to help you customize your blueprint for prosperity.